Hi guys. So Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, was in America this week to attempt to unburn some of the bridges that the Northern Ireland Secretary has burnt by saying that the UK is going to break international law and undermine the peace process in Northern Ireland, the Good Friday Agreement, which is the cornerstone of peace in Northern Ireland. Dominic Raab was asked whether he has actually read the Good Friday Agreement, also known as the Belfast Agreement. Now, consider that he was the Brexit Secretary. It wasn't for very long. It was for just a few months in 2018 while he was the Brexit Secretary. But now he's also the Foreign Secretary. He's not like Health Secretary or Transportation Secretary. He's responsible for foreign affairs. So you would imagine someone who was both a Brexit Secretary and a Foreign Secretary would have read the Good Friday Agreement, because it's so important and it deals with issues such as a border, peace in Northern Ireland, and also because Northern Ireland is so important when it comes to Brexit. The status of Northern Ireland, where border posts would eventually go, the Good Friday Agreement, how it's affected by Brexit, and the Withdrawal Agreement as well, for example. So let's hear what he had to say.
Since you had such a critical role as the Brexit Secretary, I presume that in fact you had read the Belfast Agreement. Please don't line up behind the Immigration Minister and tell us that you haven't read the agreement.
I'm sorry, the sound is not very good, but she just basically said, please don't tell me that you haven't read the Belfast Agreement.
I haven't sit down and started at the beginning and gone through it, but of course...
I haven't sat down, with a glass of brandy next to me, with a pipe, in a comfy chair, and said, children gather around as we listen to this marvelous story of what happened across the sea in a land of tyranny and oppression. It's 35 pages long. It's not the same as the Withdrawal Agreement, which is hundreds of pages in length. It's 35 pages long.
Of course, at various points in the negotiations, when issues have been raised, it has been an important opportunity to delve in to the different aspects very carefully.
So good job.
This is like a child who hasn't studied hasn't read a book that the teacher gave them to read over the summer. And the teacher's like, have you read the book? Yeah, I haven't read, sat down and read all of the book, but I've referred to the book. They're like, okay, can you tell me something about the book?
Aspects of so you haven't read the Belfast Agreement in its entirety?
I haven't sat down and gone from... I've used it as a reference.
Who cares whether you sat? You could actually read it standing up. It's not that long, unless you're a very slow reader.
Tool to make sure that I understood and could satisfy and reassure myself that in relation...
How could you say, I'm going to use a document as a reference, but I'm not actually going to read the entire document, but I'm still going to use it as a reference? How could you do that? I could understand if you were saying, look, it was a really long book and I didn't have time to read it, even though, Brexit Northern Ireland was somewhat important when it comes to Brexit. And at the beginning, Brexiteers were saying, look, Northern Ireland is not a problem, we'll sort it out. It's, stop complaining about Northern Ireland. It's not an issue. Now we're seeing it's somewhat of an issue. So it's the idea that, well, I don't need to read a 35-page document that is a cornerstone of peace in Northern Ireland, while being the Brexit Secretary and the Foreign Secretary. Apologies. This, of course, he became Foreign Secretary later, but he still, when he was in America, he was still using the same sort of excuses.
Commitments that were made on both sides in relation to the joint report in December, which was the basis of what we were going to do on the backstop, that we're not impinging on anything required by the Belfast agreement, and also to make sure more broadly, in a positive sense, that what we're doing can promote peace, stability, notwithstanding what I recognise is a difficult set of questions for the people and the communities of Northern Ireland.
So you're confirming that you haven't read the Belfast Agreement, you were the Brexit Secretary, the backstop, the arrangement with Ireland.
I'm answering all your questions to the best of my ability.
Yes, but you're
and I'm doing
It's like, did you read it? Like, I'm answering your questions.
it honestly.
Yes.
So it's not like a novel. You sit down and say, do you know what? Over the holidays, this is a cracking read. But it is an absolutely vital constitutional document. And
It's a vital constitutional document that I couldn't be arsed to read. Has he even seen a physical copy of it? Like, if you see a physical copy of it, you understand that it's not very long. If you see the PDF, you say, oh look, the PDF is only 150 kilobytes or whatever, then it's not very long.
And I consulted it at every moment, where either as of my own initiative or whether as a result of advice of officials, an issue was...
Why are you lying to these people? They know you're telling them just crap. They know you're just talking crap. Why are you lying to them? You should have said, look, I didn't read it. I was wrong. I should have read it. It was my mistake. Mea culpa. I should have read the Good Friday Agreement, the Belfast Agreement. I didn't. Bad, my bad.
...raised to satisfy myself that we would never do anything, not only to undermine the letter, but also the spirit of the Good Friday Agreement, or indeed the political stability that I'm sure in good faith we all want to preserve.
Good.
It's like, I don't know what's in it, but I know that people like it. So we are of course defending it. Every move, every decision we take is always referring to the Good Friday Agreement, making sure that we never encroach upon the Good Friday Agreement. We never go outside the spirit of the Good Friday Agreement. Because you can say that because you haven't read it. You know that people think it's important. It's like, if I never saw a particular movie and I heard other people talking about it, then I could pretend that I actually saw it as well and say, yeah, this was a really important movie in the series. It was very popular. A lot of people liked it. I think it deserves an Oscar. Have you seen it? No, but other people have told me it's very good.
And could you just confirm, for the record, that you did read the provisions in the agreement which referred to a border poll?
I am familiar with those. If I don't have a copy of it in front of me, if you want...
Have you read about the border poll? Yeah, I know of border polls. I wish she had asked him something even more specific, and then he'd be like,
Test me on the detail, but I am familiar with those.
Yes, and
we're running short of time.
We're running short of time. Thank you, Chair.
It's a great opportunity for me.
And now here he is in the United States, explaining why we are going to defend the Good Friday Agreement, and it's the EU that's the problem.
To be clear that the threat to the Good Friday Agreement in the, as it's reflected in the Northern Ireland Protocol, has come from the EU's politicisation of the issue.
What the hell are you talking about? What? Give an example.
And to be clear on how that's happened and why that's happened. Our commitment to the Good Friday Agreement and to avoid any extra infrastructure at the border between the north and the south is absolute. We've made that, and I've had conversations.
No, it's not. Well, first of all, you don't know what's in the Good Friday Agreement. You've said you haven't read it. And second, unless he has read it between that hearing and last week. But I don't think he has. I don't think he's bothered. Why would he bother? He doesn't care. He doesn't care about Northern Ireland. He doesn't care about the people in Northern Ireland. He doesn't even care enough to actually be able to defend his position. Also because he probably, even if he did read the Withdrawal Agreement and the Good Friday Agreement, read both of them. I don't think he's read the Withdrawal Agreement either. He'd say, well, actually, we can't defend this. We can't defend what we're doing. our response must be, what's the narrative? What's the message? What's the memo from the slogan, the memo from Dominic Cummings? What has Dominic told us to say this week? It's the EU's fault. Yeah, let's run with that.
Well before the issue of the internal market bill has come up on the Hill with Senate and House leaders and figures. The UK action here is defensive in relation to what the EU is doing. It is precautionary. We haven't done it.
Once again, the EU has done. He doesn't say what the EU has done. He said, the EU are trying to take Northern Ireland away. Where? In the Withdrawal Agreement. Where in the Withdrawal Agreement? I don't know. I haven't read it. Okay, but you didn't sign it, did you? Yes, we did. Why did you sign it? Because we had to rush it through Parliament. Why did you rush it through Parliament? Because Boris needed to get it rushed through Parliament, otherwise people would read it.
Any of this yet, and it is proportionate. But what we can't have is, and this is contrary to the Northern Ireland Protocol, and of course a risk to the Good Friday Agreement, what we cannot have is the EU seeking to erect a regulatory border down the Irish Sea between Northern Ireland and Britain. I've had really good conversations, and I think it's been helpful to be able to explain that point of view.
I think, and I hope, the Americans are seeing through this crap. Donald Trump probably, he wouldn't be able to see through a window without glass in it. But I think the American, at least the ones who have been following the peace process, they can see through this. Dominic Raab is opening his mouth and they're like probably looking at each other and saying, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is he talking about? You know, especially ones who were involved, who actually went to Belfast, who met with Sinn Féin and the loyalist paramilitaries. There were Americans who did that, who went there and spoke with them, who met with John Hume and David Trimble, the architects of this. Dominic Raab is in over his head. He was in over his head when it came to Brexit. He's in over his head when it comes to the when it comes to foreign affairs. I think he was sent over there to do damage control, but he's not a firefighter. Let me know in the comments section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?